What's up, my peeps? Welcome to another power-packed Phillips podcast. Just a friendly reminder, I don't want you to forget that your 10-question packet is due on Monday. Remember, don't forget, questions 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are posted in Blackboard under the recorded tutoring session. Alright guys, if you would grab your notes/homework spiral, we are going to start lesson 4.1 because we are just trucking right along. LOL. This is going to be chapter 4, lesson 1, 4.1. We're going to talk about plotting points in the coordinate plane. Plotting points in the coordinate plane. And Mr. Phillips is going to do his best to make this lesson as easy as it was for the Cubs to lose over 100 games. Ouch.
Oh my gosh.
If you would, please write in your homework/notes spiral, please write the function y equals 2x minus 1. They're asking us to graph a function. In this case, our function is going to be y equals 2x minus 1. A couple things before we graph it. They're telling us that the domain is going to be -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Remember that domain is your King Xavier because he ruled over a very large domain. So somewhere in your paper, I want you to make yourself a T chart. Why is it called a T chart? Because it looks like the letter T. On one side of the T chart, I'm going to ask you to put an X. On the other side of the T chart, I'm going to ask that you put a Y. Notice that I took all the numbers that they gave me for the domain, or my X, and I put them on the side that has my X. So next thing I want you to do is underneath the X, put -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. Alrighty, the next thing I'm going to see is that the coefficient 2 is touching the variable x. Whenever a number is touching a letter, that means, good job boys and girls, that means multiplication. So I'm going to put a dot in between these. The next thing I'm going to do is I am going to substitute. I am going to plug and chug, and I'm going to take my first number here, which is -2, and I'm going to put it in for x. So I take x out, I put the first number, which is -2, in. Now I'm going to follow PEMDAS. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiplication. 2 times -2 is -4. I'm going to copy the rest of my problem. A -4 and a -1. I'm really adding those together. So 4 plus 1 gives me 5, and a negative plus a negative gives me a negative. So I'm going to take this answer, that's my answer for y, and I'm going to put it right here across from the -2. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take -1 and I'm going to plug it in for x. So take out your x, take your next number, which is -1, and substitute it in. Again, follow PEMDAS. So I'm going to do multiplication first. I'm going to do 2 times -1, which is -2. Bring down the -1. I have a -2 minus 1. Well, that's the same thing as adding. Jay Cutler got sacked for 2 yards. on the next play, he got sacked for 1 yard. Altogether, he got sacked, so Mr. Phillips is sad for a 3-yard loss. So you are going to take this -3, which is your answer, and plug it in to the table over here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put 0 in for x. So take out x, plug in a 0. Again, I'm always going to follow PEMDAS. 2 times 0 gives me 0. So now I have 0 minus -1. That's the same thing as saying 0 plus a -1. If I add 0 to anything, I get the same number. So my answer is going to be -1. I'm going to put -1 over here in my t-chart. The next number I'm going to substitute in is 1. Take out the x, substitute, plug in a 1. As always, follow order of operations. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 minus 1 gives me 1. I write my answer over here in my chart. I'm thinking that if I go back and look, if I add 2 each time, I get the next answer over here underneath my range. So I'm thinking that the next answer is going to be 1 plus 2, which is 3, excuse me. But let's find out. Last number to substitute in, I'm going to substitute in a 2 for x. 2 times 2 is going to give me 4. 4 minus 1 does give me 3. So I was correct. Remember up here in the question when it says identify the range. Oh, went a different color. Sorry. The range is going to be all the numbers underneath my y. That's my range. Okay? So now you've completed your t-chart. That is the first step. Making a table, plugging in the numbers, writing down the answers. Now I did want to tell you, the book shows a table a little different way than we made it. You pick which way is easiest for you. So this is what the table looks like in the book. Here are all the numbers for the x, which we had right up here. They do their work here in the middle, and then they stick their answer over here on the end. See, same answers. I prefer to do my work over here on the side and not in the middle, but you do it the way that's easiest for you. In our next podcast, we're going to talk about how to graph the ordered pairs that we just got on the coordinate grid. Friendly reminder, I asked you at the beginning of the year to make sure that you had graph paper. So next week, please make sure that you start bringing in graph paper, because I'm not going to supply it for the entire class. Next week, you need to start bringing in graph paper, because we're going to be using graph paper a lot in chapters 4 and 5. Bring your graph paper next week. Be there or be square. See ya.